Well, that is indeed our common lesson. And yet, how extremely difficult it is to get it right. It's all God. God is the doer. Everything we see, everything that we feel, it's all God. And yet, day after day, we find ourselves in whirlpools of desire and resistance and all these kinds of things. Why is that? How can that be? Well, God has made his Maya, his hobby, very, very potent. And so though we need to discipline ourselves and so forth, that's important as long as it's with joy. Harsh discipline does nothing. But as long as we understand that God himself is the one who has put together this great Maya, and it is really, really powerful. Sometime back, and it's not a discouraging thought, it's just a wake-up call. I read that going into the light, even, one can fall asleep. And I thought, wow, I even have more respect for the Maya. You get that far, and then you find yourselves again in a stupor. But look at it. You read in the autobiography of a yogi, finally we are free of all of the karmas that bring us back to this world, this material plane. We have nirvikalpa samadhi, finally. But is God done with us then? No. We can be free if we want. We have that power. But what does he do? He tricks us again. And it's simply that we really don't care now. That we have this residue of karma because we're not bound by this material creation. But we have astral karma and causal karma, so we have to go to finishing school with Sri Yukteswar in Ranaloka for more discipline. And if we get it wrong, cosmic law, we experience keen pain. We refresh ourselves with ecstasy, of course, the next moment. And the causal plane, where the veil is so thin between our own souls and the Creator, and yet the veil exists still. Such that Pranavananda, in the autobiography of a yogi, we read the astonishing and inspiring story of Pranavananda, the saint with two bodies, who would meditate all night long with a colleague, and then his duties at night. Raise your hand if that's your sadhana. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. He would have to have been, along with his friend, deeply immersed in God, in ecstasy. And yet what did he do? He went to Lahiri Mahashaya, his guru, and said, please, I know that sitting before me, is God, an avatar. You must, because you know God so intimately, you must take my cause. Help me, intercede with me, with Brahma. I can't get through this veil. And what did Lahiri Mahashaya say? It didn't seem like he was very sympathetic. Oh, your meditations aren't profound enough. Oh my gosh. Okay, so then he went back and finally he did find God. With Lahiri Mahashaya's great blessing and tremendous superhuman effort. And then there was another problem that the Maya stuck him with. He still had to go to work. What is this? And so he went to Lahiri Mahashaya again, saying, you pulled off the first big chore, and now I'm one with God. Now I have another little problem. I wonder if you could find a way to get me out of work. I'd like to retire. I'm still too young for that. And what did Lahiri Mahashaya say so wisely? He said, well, just go to the employer. You go to your employer and tell him what you're feeling. This rise of currents and ecstasy in the spine. That's exactly what he did, and no doubt Lahiri Mahashaya worked through his employer. You know how mischievous they are. And he was recommended highly for a pension. Then he went back to Lahiri Mahashaya and said, thank you so much. Now I have both pensions that I need. God is playing with us. Constantly, he's playing with us. I love what Teresa of Kolkata said. Can you love me, God says, the great saints say, can you love me when different people come with quirks and personalities, co-workers, friends, relatives, whatever they might be? Can you love me? in this disagreeable form. And when I first read that, I just thought, this is fantastic. Because the whole experience is disagreeable, half the time at least. That's what we have learned in India, our 6 years here, sweet and salty. Even to this day, when someone hands me some food, whatever, I ask them, is this sweet or salty? Because I never know, because you guys have been at it for thousands of years, and I just don't know what's in front of me. I have to ask, because of the expectation. If you're expecting sweet and you get salty, then, oh, what is this? And vice versa. So we're constantly being tugged around. We're constantly being pushed to and fro by our karma. We're constantly being knocked out by negative and perhaps harsh environment. And of course, the list is long. But happily, with all this complication, all that's asked of us is to love God. That's it. And as we continue to keep that at the fore of our mind, then the veil, this very strong and thick veil, is bit by bit released. We're released from this separation because we're no longer going about with an agenda. The agenda has to be thrown away. I often have the image, if God came to us one fine day, in meditation or whatever it might be, we might say, well, just wait a minute, I have my list of duties, after all, this is Monday, it's a work day, couldn't you have come after hours? And God shaking his head, wondering what is this? And then if that's not enough, then we have our agenda. I think you've come a little premature because, I have all these ways of finding you. I have to do my yoga postures and my affirmation and all this, and you're early, and so forth. Such confusion. Rather, embrace the thought. And what an important thought this is. That if God were to send down a shaft of light, and he will one day, into our consciousness and say, come, then we would come. We would leave everything aside. This is what we want to do on a daily basis. Om Namo Shivaya. Shiva, and those of you that are astrology fans, Saturn, these guys can get some bad press. But there's no reason for that, because they're here to discipline us with love. Make no mistake of that. And so what we're trying to do on a daily basis, I really feel more and more that, yes, there is seva and there's our routine and all of these various things. But basically every day we're on retreat. And God has every retreat day planned specifically for us. And in that way, we should embrace it. What comes of itself, let it come. And so it's a happy day and everything goes quite well, fine. That's the sweet day. The next day is a salty day. Remember, it all adds up to zero. When Swami first told me that, I thought, my God, I'll never understand the spiritual path. We work so hard, and the grand prize at the end is that it all adds up to zero. All of the good karma, all of the bad karma must cancel out itself. As the great saint that Yogananda met in the mid-30s, Ananda Ma said, when will you find God? We will find God, she said, when our last desire is finished. We've reached zero then. We met a saint years ago in California. What was his name? Brother Shunyabai. Brother Zero. What a banyan tree he was. He's the only person I can ever remember. I didn't know him. That I went up and I extended my hand and he put his hand in mine. And for 10 minutes, that's a long time to hold hands with someone you don't know. But I did know him. He was Brother Shunyabai. He was a banyan tree. I hadn't met him in this lifetime, but he was so pure in his consciousness that I felt like I was holding hands with the dearest friend, with Mother Divine. And so that's what we want to aspire to become. We want to be pure. And that's what every retreat day is about. They're all the same. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right on through the week, all 7 days. They're all retreat days. And they are all days to help us to grow in our love for God. And as we back off, and begin to resist, and it's not easy, the thought that God and his crazy crowd do not know what they're doing. They're always, sending us suffering, and finally we got a raise, but then there's another difficulty over here, and on and on and on. I remember what a revelation it was for me when I realized that the tests and the challenges were unending. And I wasn't discouraged by that. I just thought, well, that's just how it is. It just keeps on coming. But the good news is, and thank God for that, is that at one point, though the waves of challenge and all do come, there will come a point where in our perfection, we're not affected by that. In the astral world, when the saints are free, and again, that's where we're going, to be free, it's described, perhaps it's in the autobiography of a yogi, that the souls there, in a state of freedom and full wakefulness, splash about happily in God. Here, down here on the earth, we're always splashing water in each other's faces, salty water sometimes, and other kinds of mischief. But there, they've gone beyond. Because when we wake up from the dream, it'll be like this dream never existed. And that is a very, very important thought to hold on to with all of our might. All of these struggles, all of these things that we have to endure day after day, incarnation after incarnation, there will be no reality when we're awake, because there never was any reality in them, because it was just a dream. And so why are we taking this dream so seriously? Smriti, we continue to forget. We have to continue to remember. That's our project. And the best way to remember is to see God within and to see God without. We're not going to be able to make much headway seeing God outside this little body if we haven't identified the God within. Why is that? Because as we identify our own soul perfection, we begin to experience expansion of consciousness. So it's natural. It's absolutely natural. If you go the other way around, remember it's an inside job. If you go the other way around, as many people do, and save, and it's wonderful, of course, it's a true path to God, but then they neglect their own self. And many times, after decades of seva, they've neglected their own soul. They've balanced life. And the net result is they've gotten so far away from their heart quality, from their conscience, all of that, they hardly know themselves. And they're disillusioned and confused. That's why yoga, and it's why we consider India the guru of the West. When we left to Gurgaon in 2010, we were in Los Angeles for 2 years. And it was a good place to be, after all. Yogananda's called it the Benares of the West. But what did Roma and I feel? We felt like we were in exile, because though we don't look very Indian, we are. We are Indian. We've all led these various lives. Why would we be comfortable here? This is our home now. And when we go to US, we're visiting. And so India is the guru of the world. It's a privilege to be here. Of course, it's a great privilege to be born here. Why? Because willing out of the ground, thanks to the saints, the current saints, Babaji and so forth, not to mention the saints of old, that have been here for thousands of years, they have absolutely impregnated this soil, this holy soil of India with their vibration. And it is so strong that probably we won't even be able to fathom the strength until we're free. I remember a wonderful story. These devotees were looking for the bones of a saint. And they wanted to find these bones and about to take them to the shrine and so forth and worship them. But they couldn't find them in the graveyard. They had a problem. There were so many bones there. So one of them had a superconscious idea, and he thought, well, I'll go to a saint, and I'll ask him to find the bones of the saint. And so that's indeed what they asked him to do. And so he went around the graveyard and holding up the various bones very curiously to his ear. And they didn't know what he was doing. Saints can be quite peculiar. And so there he was, so for some time doing that. And finally, he found the bones of the saint. And they said, how were you able to find that? Because they had enough refinement of consciousness that when they were handed the relics, they could feel the vibration. It was so strong. He said, oh, it was very, very easy. I was just listening to the bones that would have the mantra and the singing of God's name. As soon as I found them, I knew they were the bones of the saint. Oh, it's great. This is why we love the saints. It's just amazing, the stories that abound. And that's a curious story, this one is. Well, that's what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to pick up life. We don't have to race to the graveyard and test ourselves in this regard. But we want to pick up life, and we want to listen. We want to listen to life in whatever form it comes. And we want to keep our eyes open, and we want to keep our hearts open. And by doing that, we will finally get the message. And the message, of course, is the message of our own soul. It's the message of love, and it's the message of joy. And so when we experience, as we all do truly on a daily basis, inwardly and outwardly, the sweet and salty of life, the spice of life, we're not spending all of our time saying, this is something I like, this is something I don't like, and on and on. We spend so much time doing this, an utter waste of time. Of course, we have to discriminate, no question of that. But nevertheless, what we're trying to do is to say to God, please, please, you must come to me. I'm deaf. You are the one who put together this. I'm deaf. I can't hear you. You have to speak very loudly in my presence through your creation. And I can't see. So you're going to have to knock me on the head. Don't knock me too harshly, but whatever it takes so that I can begin to see with true vision. These are the things that we need to tell God. Because otherwise we walk around indefinitely as half-baked saints. And though that's a good start, and we've had incarnations working at this project, we want finally to be fully baked saints. And of course, the process can be an arduous one. We say to God, come to me, and then he comes to us in some harsh form. We say, oh, no, I didn't mean in this form. I was thinking of bliss. I often think that God is the blacksmith. And he pounds on us and he heats us up and then he throws us in the water. We like that. But then he finds we're not done yet. So he pounds on us and heats us up again. And we wail and cry and scream until he puts us into bliss again in that water. Then we're happy. And then he pulls us out and he does it again. It's been going on for a long time. When are we going to get used to this handling? When are we going to understand the flip side of pain is love? And so for us, really, and it's why seek God for joy. Swami Kriyananda said something very interesting many years ago, and I've pondered it ever since. He said, in meditation, don't seek God for love first, seek God for joy. I thought, how interesting. What does he mean? And he said, with love, because we know that there's unconditional love and there's conditional love. Conditional love is a start, but it's not much. I'll love you if you do my dishes. If you don't, I don't love you. I withdraw my love. Okay, it's somewhere, but it's not too far along in the journey. And so we see God as joy, because with joy we're protected. With joy we have the vision. With joy we have the wisdom. With joy we're balanced. And then with joy, then it naturally opens up the heart to love. And then we don't get fooled with the heart's energy going downward or going outward when it's supposed to go up. When we're supposed to send this love for God. That's what chanting's about. We chant and chant and chant. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, it says in the Bible. Whip up devotion in the heart. It's very important, chanting. But that's only the first step. After that, then we offer the love of the heart awakened through chanting up to the point between the eyebrows to get the attention of that soul joy. And so for us, day after day, it's a matter of doing all that we can, and God knows it takes a lot of effort, to work with God and the saints hand in hand as partners, because it is a partnership, working hand in hand with them in waking up. If you think in terms of doing everything, and I'm not exaggerating, everything with a thought of freedom, then those things, whether they're thoughts or feelings or some kind of seva, that don't give you freedom, then that's to be shunned, because that's not going to do anything for you. If we do everything with a thought of growing wakefulness, then that after a while, that will become very easy. Is this thought waking me up or putting me to sleep? Is this action waking me up or putting me to sleep? Remember, and maybe you don't remember because you don't know the story, but those of you that do, then you will remember. Brother Ananda, who was a wonderful Swami, he's passed on now, a highly advanced soul that was in SRF YSS. Swami brought him onto the path. He went to see Swami Ramdas, the South Indian saint that's passed now some decades back. And because he was so highly advanced, Brother Ananda, when he met Ramdas, he went into ecstasy. He was looking for his guru, and he figured, well, my goodness, a soul that puts me into ecstasy, common sense, don't even need intuition, this must be my guru. And so he said to Ramdas, are you my guru? He says, no, Yogananda is your guru. Well, Turiyananda was taken aback. He said, no, Yogananda is not my guru, Yogananda's dead. And Ramdas said, no, Yogananda's alive, you're dead. So again, we get these wake-up calls from the saints. That's why we love them. We get these wake-up calls from the saints, and they say, time is going by very quickly. Roma and I didn't look like this decades ago. Now we do. What happened? Did we color our hair, and in my instance, tug some of the strands out, tufts of hair out, and so on, so I could feel more confident in my teaching, in our teaching? Oh yes, they're gray. They must know a thing or two. It's not that. The decades fly by. The decades fly by. And so our job on a daily basis is to love God and to feel His joy. And that's not enough. It's to share that love and to share that joy with everyone we meet. And so the Bhagavad Gita reading this morning was so beautiful, because God is playing with us in that reading. He's saying, I'm everything. I'm the ghee, I'm the cow, I'm the sky, I'm the thought of discouragement because it was me who invented all this Maya. I'm everything, absolutely everything. So you can put down your worries now. You can put down your resistance. You can put down ego. You can put down your karma. You can put down body consciousness, attachment to personality. You can put down the whole doggone thing, and just immerse your soul in me. And so now that we have awakened sufficiently to the inner life, we have a responsibility, and it's a joyous one, to give all that we can every day that we spend on retreat, every day, to others, lifting their consciousness, praying for them, doing all that we can to do our part. It's not easy because we're always stumbling and making fools of ourselves. But oh well, that's how it is as the life of a half-baked saint. Pay no attention to that. We slip again, we slip again. That does not define who we are as a perfected soul. That's who we are. And so go to the autobiography of a yogi and read Samadhi. That's Yogananda's request to us, and memorize it even, he said, in order to continually immerse ourselves in the true reality. This reality we're experiencing right now is not a reality. We think it is, but it is not. As dense as it is. The true reality is spirit. We're children of God. And so it is indeed for us a privilege to be in India. I don't know why we have the good fortune to be here, but we do. And as Yogananda said, when God gives more, take more. So He gave us India. And that's quite a gift of gifts, truly. And we're humbled by it. And we are also deeply appreciative that all of you have worked so hard over the incarnations to get to this point where you know that it is an inside job, and that God is within, and that God is without and everywhere. So God bless you. Keep up the good work, and remember, whoever gets there first needs to throw down a rope so the rest of us can clamber up. Don't just be in heaven by yourself. You'll find an angry mob down there, all of your friends saying, "What are you doing? Where's that rope?" We're in this together. Many hands make a miracle. God bless you.
Please stand and we'll have the arati now.